Hello and welcome to another End User Talk podcast. I'm your hostess, Jamila, your lady in tech. Hello and welcome to the End User Talk podcast. This is your hostess, Jamila, your lady in tech. Today, I have another wonderful guest for us to talk to. I want to introduce Miss Lesa.
I'm excited to be here. I am just amazed at being able to sit down and talk to you. This is pretty cool.
Well, I'm grateful that you were able to carve out some time out of your very busy schedule to add me and for us to be able to take this opportunity to talk. Before we get started, do you mind giving us a brief introduction?
I am from Dallas, Texas, originally. I left here and joined the military and spent probably 16 years or so away. I have 4 children. I have a wonderful husband, Joel, and we have 4 grandsons who range in age from 2 to 17, and they are just the coolest human beings. I'm a school teacher. And I teach 8th grade, and those are the people who know everything and know nothing at the same time. Love what I do. Love what I do. I am a child of God, which is it is the most important decision I've ever made in my life. I've been a Christian for 36 years now. And so that's kind of who I am. Love sports, love gardening, love fishing. As I get older, I seem to enjoy country life more. And that is essentially who I am. I will tell a corny joke at the drop of a hat. So that's about it.
Well, you know what? If nothing else, that's a pretty good introduction, and I like that. From Dallas, I too am from Texas, a native of Texas, but a little up the freeway here. I'm originally from Lubbock, so
girl, I saw my first tumbleweed.
Right, and Lubbock is home of the tumbleweed.
Oh my goodness, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. I went to school there in Amarillo, so
okay, all right,
a little bit about that part of Texas. Good for you.
Same to you. See, we're homegrown, kind of, sort of. So, different ends, but
Right.
Now, you mentioned military. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for your service. And we're grateful to those of you who have volunteered your time and your services in the service to protect, the freedoms that we appreciate and even the protection. So thank you for doing that.
My pleasure.
Now, which branch of the military are you?
Girl, I was in the only branch. I was in the Navy.
Ma'am.
Listen, I harass people when they aren't from the Navy. I see people in the grocery store. I'll be like, I would talk to you, but that hat says Army. I can't even talk to you. I just walk up to people.
Well, you know what? I'm not going. Most people are a friend to me because majority of my family have served in some form or fashion in the military. So my oldest daughter is Air Force.
Oh no!
Yeah. She's Air Force.
Listen, here's the deal. How can you say you were in the military when you didn't even do a single push-up?
Okay.
Push-up. Ask her. Just ask her.
My baby did push-ups. She did push-ups. We've got proof.
I'm telling you. Ask her. How many push-ups did she do?
You know what?
No
we
push-ups.
Have to get together on this one because
no push-ups.
I know my baby did push-ups.
No push-ups.
Okay then. Okay, Lesa, we're gonna move on from there. So That's my baby, and we can't go there. But I do have a number of relatives. My father was Army. I have an older brother, Army, and I do have a cousin, and you'll be glad to hear this, actually two, who are Navy men.
See, there we go. There we go. Talking. We're talking.
One of which he made it to, he's going to be angry with me if I don't do this right. Chief Petty Officer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So he's, very proud of his accomplishments. You know, I didn't see it growing up, but evidently he had it in him. So
You didn't see it in Pookie?
I didn't see it. I really didn't. You know, he got on my nerves most of the time, but evidently we came from good stock, I must say. So he did something with his life.
All right. That's all right.
But all jokes aside, I appreciate it. I didn't join myself. I wanted to, but life took a totally different path for me. So, but thank you again for your service. I appreciate it. But the reason why I had you on the show, Lesa, is because I've seen you speak on several different occasions, and I was like, you know what? I like her, and I like to talk. And I think that she and I would make a good combination for a discussion. So you've mentioned the military, you mentioned being an educator specifically for the 8th graders. May I ask, is that something you always wanted to do, or did after getting out of the military, you just took a different?
Girl, no. I come from a family of educators. My mom and aunts retired from teaching. And all of my life, that is what they talked to us, meaning my cousins and I. They wanted us to, you need to get your teaching certificate. You need to, you know, even if that's not what you want to do, you may want to fall back on that or something. I mean, they just really encouraged that. And I ran as fast and hard as I could. That's where the military came in. And so even after getting out of the military, I had no desire to teach whatsoever. I think I saw what my mother did, and I saw some of the things that, you know, she had to deal with and that kind of thing. And I thought, oh no, I don't want to do that. But somewhere after doing, you know, I've kind of lived a life of doing what I was interested in. So if I wanted to know what this experience was like, what it was like to be this, I would go and do it, which, you know, gave them headaches, of course. But for instance, when I got out of the military, I became a bicycle messenger in DC, because I wanted to experience that freedom and being outside and being physical and earning a good living. And, you know, it fit all of those things. So, you know, my family, of course, was like, you're doing what? But I absolutely loved it. And so teaching came much later for me. Teaching came when it hit me one day that I was in corporate America. I was in management and, you know, moving up and doing what you do in corporate America, and realized that I had been teaching all along. You know, I had been training people. I had been working with people, but I felt like I was kind of a cog in the wheel. You know, it took getting ill at one point and going home for about 4 months. And I realized while I was there with all of that time to think that not only are they able to go on without me, it did not seem that I was critical. You know what I mean? It didn't seem that I'd made this huge difference. And certainly, you know, I had people who worked on my team and all of that who, you know, I worked hard to treat them well and to promote them and be fair and, you know, all those things. But I was gone for 4 months and life still went on, and I just felt like I wasn't really making a difference. And so once I kind of put those two things together, that, you know, I wanted to make a difference that lasted in someone's life and that I was always an educator on some level, I decided I should become a teacher. And so that's how I wound up being an 8th grade English teacher. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so And I think of most people who come from a family or a line of where there are certain patterns or certain paths that the family has taken.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And the expectation is that we are going to follow. This is our lineage. We
Right.
are going to continue to follow this path. So I can see where a lot of people would try. You kind of want to carve out your own
Right. Right.
path. You know, you're breaking from the nest.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that when we turn 18, that sense of I don't have to listen to nobody.
Right. Right.
I'm going to live my own, I'm going to make my decisions. I'm going to do, and a lot of it comes from, if nothing else, just trying to find yourself and identity. A lot of it is rebellion.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I see even individuals who come from a line or a lineage of military. And again, as you said, educators. I mean, we have the ones who own businesses. It's intended that we set this up for our family. So our family will always have something to fall back on.
Right. Right.
And the expectation is that this is our family business and you will take the reins.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And it's really interesting that fall back on is something that my parents' generation, that was very important to them. They wanted you on one hand to kind of follow your dreams. They were big about that. But on the other hand, if you didn't have one of those dreams that was, teacher, firefighter, doctor, lawyer, those kinds of things, then there was always you need something to fall back on. And I heard Steve Harvey, the great philosopher he is, say something that just really stuck with me. He told one of his sons, he refused to tell him to get something to fall back on because he wanted him to go into whatever the area was that he wanted to, whatever his dream was, he wanted him to put everything he had in it without the idea that he had something to fall back on. Does that make sense?
It does.
So that if it did not work out, then it would not be because he did not put everything into it. Because in the back of his mind, he knew, well, this isn't going so well, so I'll go back to the thing that I have to fall back on. It intrigues me that is kind of what my mom's generation, that was very important to them. And in turn, I've grappled with, how do you pass that kind of thinking on to your children, or do you suggest, as he's done, that no, you just go for it, and you just, because you're going to do something anyway. If that doesn't work, you're going to figure out something. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. That's something I think about.
I mean, it's interesting in that because as Black people, a lot of us don't have foundations. There are a lot of Black families, households that don't really have foundation. They don't have a lineage, or we don't have that blueprint, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I do see where our ancestors and where our family members, the ones before us, their intent was for us to have, I guess, loosely purpose.
Right.
And again, something to fall back on, because we know, well, their struggle, if you look at their struggle, a lot of their struggle was a lot more intense than what we face today. Not to say that we don't face challenges, but they come out of the civil rights movement. A lot of our family came from slavery, things of that nature, and things were hard.
Right.
It was hard to keep. So even my own grandmother, she raised 4. She was a single mother because her husband was tragically killed, and she was left with these 4 young children, and she had to make a choice. And her choice was, I'm going to go to nursing school. She went to nursing school, and she was an LVN for 30 years, and she retired.
Wow.
In that time, she purchased a house.
Mm.
And in her mind, that house was the family house.
Right.
That house was going to stay in the family and benefit someone, one of her children, her children's children, her grandchildren, her great children. With that mindset, they just want to make sure that you have something, again, to fall back on if whatever the intended plan is doesn't work out.
Right.
So
and there's so much wisdom there, isn't there?
Yeah, it is. It is that they were thinking beyond themselves.
Right.
There wasn't a sense of selfishness.
Exactly.
And that is what is so important when we think about families and our responsibility as parents. You've mentioned being a grandmother, a grandparent. I don't know if that's what they call you. I don't see you being called granny. You're not called granny, are you?
No, ma'am, I am not granny. Girl, I will get out and run a race with them down the middle of the street. Do you hear me? No,
that's what I'm talking about. You didn't look like a granny. I don't see that. Okay.
No, I am Duchess.
Oh, girl.
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Okay. I got to take that off the list now. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I am Duchess. And somebody heard it. They asked me what it was, and I told them, and they literally said, girl, I'm going to steal that one. I'm going to be Duchess. I got a little upset. I was like, wait a minute.
Okay, but you know what? She can be Duchess, but you are Duchess of what?
Yeah.
Duchess of Dallas? Duchess of Cambridge? Which Duchess are you?
I know that's right. I know. But yes, ma'am, I am Duchess. I am Duchess.
Right. So it's just like, we look and we all have our own journey and our own path. And I do appreciate the families who have set an expectation for their offspring. Like I said, just, with the Black experience in general and being a Black woman, we have so many different challenges coming at us all at once, and you have to try to manage all of that. I heard someone say once, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Oh, yes.
So I don't fault or look down on those parents or families who have executed a plan or an expectation for their lineage, for their offspring.
Right.
So give you an idea. Look, we're going to we're a military family, or we're a family of educators. We're a family of doctors. Right. I don't frown upon that because just like you stated, when you graduated, you were trying to avoid becoming an educator.
Right.
You did your own thing. And a lot of us will run away and I just want to do me for a little bit. I know I'm going to make some mistakes, but this thing might work.
Right. Exactly.
It might work. And if it works, brava, if it doesn't, I'll go back to what my family said, that thing I was running from, and I'm going to try that out and see how it works out.
Absolutely.
So
and it turns out I love it. I do. I am the Black mama in my classroom.
Okay. I've heard of those.
Truly.
I've heard of them.
I am the Black mama.
You're not the auntie.
No, I'm the mama. I am the mama. And so we have a lot of fun in my classes. I laugh with you, joke with you. We talk every morning. We spend the first 10 minutes of class. Hey, how's it going? What you been up to? What you doing? What's happening with you? That kind of thing. When we get down to business, we get down to business. You don't have to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, but you have to say yes and no. And my rules are the rules. And so that's about it. But we have a lot of fun. And I get nominated for favorite teacher and all of that. Just, I think, because they know that I care about them and they know that I want the absolute best for them. But I am Black mama. I am it. And so that's the same one you left at home. I'm the second copy of her right here. So if you come expecting anything else, then I'm sorry. I hate to tell you that, but no.
Well, I will tell you this much. Hats off to all educators because this sister here could not do it. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to be mama, and I only have enough mama for the 3 daughters that I have. I'm not trying to mama everybody else's kids. So, Hats off to you, sister. And I am glad you deserve those accolades. Educators have the most, the responsibility that you all have, the challenge that you all have to face year in and year out. And last year, that posed a totally different challenge on your educating skills, I'm sure, with COVID in the classroom. Tell me.
So on any given day, there's a commercial that I love, and it's a commercial with this teacher, and I don't remember what the product is because I'm so, it's just so true. It just throws me. And there are two brothers in the class, and apparently they're twins. And the teacher has her back to them, but one of them does something, and she instantly calls their name without ever turning around. I kid you not, you develop that. And so on any given day, I can be at the front of the room and I can see a student at the back out of 30 students, and I can tell that they're not actually working, that they're kind of faking it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is I keep instructing. I never stop, but I walk however I choose to walk. I may do a circle around the room first, but I eventually make my way to that student, and I come up beside them and I put my hand on their shoulder and I simply look at what they're doing. And that usually is enough to get them back on track. And I'll stay there for a couple of seconds, still talking, still teaching. And then once I'm satisfied that they've gotten the message and that they're back on task, I'll just keep walking on around the room, and nobody else ever knows that I've corrected the student. You know what I'm saying? But the student and I.
Exactly.
With COVID, I'm behind a screen, and so are they. I have no idea if you're working. I have no idea if you're writing a poem because you're depressed and you're sad today. I have no idea because I can't come to you. I can't get to you. I can't. So it's a huge challenge, not just from that aspect, but just from our teachers. We walk around so that we can see the work that you're doing. And so when we look at your work and we see that you've answered 5 questions incorrectly and you're on number 6, I can stop at your desk and help you individually. You know what I'm saying? And there are just so many things that we cannot do that is just the natural part of teaching, that helps your child and my child and everybody else's child get through this, that we can't do it. You just cannot because of the restrictions and all of that. So literally, there are times that I feel more like I'm just an assignment giver, and I'm just monitoring. You know what I'm saying? I'm not not teaching. I'm really just
the moderator.
Yeah, it is incredibly frustrating. Incredibly frustrating. So,
well, if you could, from your perspective, and then, teaching in this type of environment now, is there something that you would like to see help out the outcome and make certain, or do you think there's anything that can be done in order to determine if the child on the other end of the screen is actually retaining the information, or is there a way to reach that child that might be depressed?
Well, the thing that I did last year and the year before and whenever is what I said to you is when I'm asking students, how are you doing that first 10 minutes of class? I still do that. The problem is I still do that because I'm really checking the pulse. I literally say to them, I need you to, on this Zoom call, put in chat, how are you doing today? And for the most part, I get good, but occasionally I'm not good, miss. And the good news is that everybody can't see it. They know that they're talking directly to me. And so I can then kind of go on with the class and come back to that student. You know what I'm saying? I can devote some time to that student. But what I'm lacking is I can't see, for the students who are at home, I can't see their faces. I can't see the expressions so much. I can't see you kind of walked to class really slowly today. What's going on with you? You all right? You were really quiet in class today. Those things for right now seem to be almost out of reach. So I pay close attention rather to the things students write. I'll give them every day some kind of writing thing that is kind of akin to a journal. Basically, tell me how you're doing. Tell me something about, and if it's really depressing or if it's really kind of sad or hopeless or whatever, I address that then. But I don't have a lot of ideas. I don't have a lot of ideas in this climate other than we all just have to do the very best we can in terms of reaching them on a personal level and letting them know that, yeah, I know we've got these screens and I know, you only know me from this computer. You know what I mean? I had a
Right.
student walk in the other day who switched from being an at-home student to coming to the classroom. And they switched, I suspect, because they just weren't doing well at home. And they're used to seeing me every day, but I'm not used to seeing them. So she walked into the classroom and walked straight to a seat, and I'm looking at her like, I have no idea who you are. And so I kind of stopped and said, good morning. And she said, good morning, miss. Like, she knew who I was.
Right.
I had to go back and say, well, can you tell me your name? And she looked actually surprised that I didn't know. But, that's the environment that we're in. You know what I'm saying? They could walk up to me on the street and I wouldn't know them. So I just think there aren't any easy answers right now. It is a difficult situation for everyone, and we recognize that.
And the social element is not there. I guess we are really seeing now the effects of having the interaction because we're human, and although routines can become mundane, and they can also become just a routine and just you're just following your lesson plan, if you will. At this time we do this, at that.
Right.
But we take for granted the fact that you need that social. You have to have that. Some people need it more than others.
Right.
And the fact that we've been isolated. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm fine at home.
This is good.
I've worked in corporate America since graduating. 19, I was employed by one company for 19 years.
Wow.
And so I've worked outside of the home for that length of time. Now I'm no longer with that company anymore, but 19 years is a lifetime for, that's a lifetime.
It is.
And I've dealt with, those moments where, what, I really don't want to, I don't want to be here. And your attitude, I really don't like.
Right.
And
right.
So, and the fact of you being in the control of someone else controlling your moods.
Right.
Sometimes you do need the isolation. Sometimes you do need the separation because mentally it's best for you. But to be thrown and to be forced into an environment like that, that's a little off-putting.
Right. It's intriguing. I teach a ladies' Bible class on Tuesdays and via Zoom now, of course. And we have a sister who, it is intriguing to me. I hear the difficulty that she's having. I would estimate she's probably in her mid 60s, but just difficulty, because at the end of the call, we'll ask for comments or, testimonials, kind of that kind of thing. And she will come on. It's kind of interesting. She'll come on almost as if she's in a one-on-one conversation, but there are 300 women on this call. And so they're listening, everybody's listening. And she'll be like, hi, how are you doing? That kind of thing. And I'm all right. And, it's a real conversation for her. But she talks for an extended period, and you realize that she's not this is more to her than a Zoom call. This is more to her than a Bible study. I need this conversation. I need this. I need this fellowship with someone. You know what I'm saying? And it's those
Right.
that make me sad. Those that you wish you could help them. You could give them that touch or that whatever that they need. I'm kind of like you. I do fairly well um, at the house. I'm pretty good. Don't just have to be out and all of that. But I recognize that there's a lot of suffering, and I do mean suffering going on from people who are isolated and feel isolated, and that's the tragedy of all of this. That's the tragic part of it. That's necessary at this point. So,
And I went through that with one of my daughters. Now, I have three lovely, very talented young women now, and they're my heart. And my oldest daughter, I told you she's Air Force. I'm going to say that one more time, Air Force.
yeah, push it.
But
Do a push-up, girl.
she went through. She was deployed, and she went to Kuwait and Qatar, and that was her first time being away from home and from family. And
Oh wow.
she went through it's a different type of isolation when you're in the military, because the whole goal of the military is to restructure,
Right.
to recreate, and ultimately change this being,
Yep.
to facilitate an idea of control. And, being young and out in the world, yeah, you're excited to do all of these things, but then you run right back into an environment where you don't make too many decisions.
Yeah.
You're told what to do every single day.
Right.
And it's so funny. She would compare it to being in prison. I'm like, no, baby girl, you're not in prison.
Right.
No, ma'am, you're not in prison. But, I feel you. I hear you. So from going there, and she went through a period where it wasn't a good experience from her. Just the environment, the people, they made it a very traumatic, and her intent was to make it a career. And it was a nightmare for her. And I was so glad, when my child was able to come home and be with her mama, because her mama was going to make some calls.
Right.
But I can't do that.
Right.
She's an adult.
Right.
She's home now. And her whole demeanor is different. She's now with family. She's in an environment where she's loved, and she doesn't have this pressure of, I don't know, being something she's not.
Yeah.
And then trying to find her own ground, if you will. She's happy now, happier. Then I have my middle child who graduated from high school, I want to say, and they're going to be very mad at me, but that's okay. I do have that right.
Come to mama right.
Man, she graduated. Now, this one, the middle child, I'll tell you something. The middle child is different. Boy, that middle child will test you. Thank you for my middle child. But they're all very different. She's so talented. She's very creative. And she's struggling at this point to find a job, because, that's what we've got to do. We have to work. We have to make money.
Right.
And, that is the expectation. So she's going through her journey. My youngest daughter last year was a senior year for her. So senior year is supposed to be an exciting moment, of all of these new experiences. Prom, we bought a prom dress, and she's not worn the prom dress.
Wow. Yes.
And she went through that period of depression because she didn't get to do the prom. She didn't get to do the things that we tend to do our senior year.
Right.
So it was tough, just gauging these three young women and how being isolated and not being able to interact, you get to see you get to find out about yourself. If you didn't know who you were before, you are either going to like yourself, you're either going to love yourself,
right,
or you're going to be like, I cannot stand me.
Right. Making some changes for real. Yes.
But I can't go nowhere. So, you got to deal with these things. And I'm with you. I saw some different changes although I'm okay in this environment, it has not bothered me. Lisa, I'm going to be honest with you. I had my daughters buy for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get groceries delivered.
Mm.
So they all collectively, that was my birthday gift. I have not set foot in a grocery store.
Get out of here.
Girl, I like that. No contact. Yes, deliver my groceries.
You are more than good. You are just.
But you're right. It's like, we get caught up in itself, and we don't realize there's so much suffering going on in other households.
Right.
We do forget.
Right.
And I'm with the parents who are struggling with their children working, trying to school from home. And then you got the parent trying to work from home. And if you're married, you're trying to work out a marriage. And you're right. There's a lot of hurt. And I know that a lot of domestic violence has risen, as a result of this. But, let me just ask you this. Do you see, as far as the interaction with your students' parents, has that improved? Is it different now, or is it even more challenging to reach the parent in this?
Well, I can tell you on the whole, my parents are more responsive. Because now I am very quick to send them a message. You know what I mean? I don't even call them most of the time. When I call, it's for real. And I tell my students, if I have to pick up the phone and call your parent, I'm not getting off that phone until I think you're in trouble. You know what I'm saying?
No,
that's my whole goal, because I have done everything that I know to do. And that means, I've talked to you. I have given you extra things to do. I've invited you to come talk to me. I've had I've done some stuff to try to get you back to where you need to be. And so by the time that I have to actually pick up the phone and I teach in I think our school is something like 93% Hispanic. And so my Spanish is probably limited to, I understand about every fifth word of a conversation, right? And so by the time that I have to wade through, I have to go through that kind of the things that it takes for me to effectively communicate with your parent, who 8 times out of 10 speaks only Spanish. When I have to go through that, we've got a real problem on our hands. And so I'm really quick to now send a text message, get on our messaging thing that the school uses and all of that. And I find that parents, although they may not communicate, they may not say something back to me, I notice an immediate improvement in what the child is doing. So I see a lot of that. But on the other hand, I also see, we were having a discussion about, we were reading a book, a novel, The Hate You Give. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the basis of that book is a young man was shot by a police officer unjustly. And, he said he thought he had a gun, but it was a hairbrush, and just the whole bit, and the lives of the people affected by that. And we were discussing that. And a parent got onto the Zoom call and said, first the student said, "Miss, I don't mean to be racist," which of course, what's about to follow that is probably something that's going to sound at least racist. And so he said, just completely out of the blue, and said, "Why do Black people kill each other?" And I was thrown, because it was so far away from what we had been discussing previously, right? It was just and so I said to him, I have a lot of things that I could say to that, but what I want you to do before you and I have that discussion, I want you to research it first, and then I want you to come back to me. And so he said, "Yeah, but I mean, why?" And so I said, again, I want you to research it because I want you to have the facts and not what you have heard or, that kind of, I want you to see some real statistics and read some things on it. And I assure you, as soon as you do that, we'll have that discussion. And so in the middle of saying that, his dad gets onto the call and says, well, Miss, why can't you answer his question? It's true. I was like, wait a minute. So I said, I was completely thrown at that point. And I said, sir, what I asked your son to do was to research and then come back to me. Well, I don't understand why you can't answer his question. So I said to him, I had to get my class back because my class was on the thing. So I said, sir, I've already given your son what I'm asking him to do before we have that discussion. And let me remind you that you are in a classroom of 8th graders at this moment. Please, get off of the Zoom call. Thank you very much. If you'd like to talk with me, you may call the school at any point. Class, I want you to turn to page blah, 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 and I went right on. And fortunately, he got off and, went on. And I've never had that situation with him again. But, we have different challenges now with parents. We have different kinds of, just things that would not ordinarily happen. And so on one hand, they're more responsive. On the other hand, we've had parents get on and say, my child was ready to answer the question, but you didn't recognize them. Why didn't you recognize them? Well, ma'am, I've got 32 other kids on this call. And I didn't see your son. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah, I see.
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Wow. I mean, I love your perspective because we don't really get to see the challenge from the educator's perspective or point of view. And it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters the age group or grade level.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of different, nuances that are definitely being thrown and obstacles. And wow, that's interesting.
Right.
And I have seen, I actually did not read the book. I actually watched the movie. I'm one of those. So I'm one of them. But I do know what you're talking about. Well, I'm interested. Did he get back with you?
He has never gotten back with me.
Okay.
In spite of my I prompted him at one point just to see. I wanted to see if he was really interested in it or if, this was just coming out of left field somewhere. So I asked him and he just said he had not. And so, I've not brought it up since then.
Well, I don't think he was really interested. I believe it was an attempt to try to lead the conversation in a totally different message or area.
I do. The teacher in me knows that too.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, because if you really wanted to know, because if y'all really want to know.
Right. Don't get me started, girl.
Please don't.
They're going, oh, no.
Look here, you're not ready. You're not ready.
That's exactly what that's what I was thinking. I was like, no, you need to go look that up for a minute because I could go on and help you out right through there, but I need you to go on and look that up.
It's interesting. When I have these conversations, now the whole point in me, and I've said this more than once, but the reason why I do this podcast primarily was to bring attention to Black people in general, our community, our culture, and just our journey because of questions like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're only seen in one light.
Right.
Now, when I grew up, I didn't grow up in a wealthy neighborhood. I come from, my parents were divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And I was raised by my grandmother and my father.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't grow up in a poor neighborhood. I grew up in the hood.
Okay.
But I grew up in a house.
Right.
And I grew up in the church. And when I look at TV, if I wasn't Black,
mm-hmm.
I would assume that every Black household and every Black family has a crackhead mother.
Right.
Or a drug dealing father or just an absentee father.
Right.
And we don't know how to read well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just, savages. If I were looking at TV,
mm-hmm.
and if that was the scenario or the message about this group of people,
mm-hmm.
I'd probably believe the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So the purpose of my podcast is to one, let people know that, you know what, Black people do exist. We're not these magical beings.
Mm-hmm.
We are magical, but we aren't fictitious.
Right.
We are real.
Mm-hmm.
And we do some pretty amazing things. We have done.
Right.
But see, society and television wants to spin this narrative of Black people that is in a negative light.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up in a crack house, or not to say that people may not have used it in the neighborhood.
Right.
But I wasn't a gangbanger. I knew gangbangers. I knew people who did things just like the average person does.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not my experience.
Right. Listen.
You know, so the purpose is I want to speak with people who will tell a different story, a true story.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that individuals who grew up in those environments are complete and utter, they should be discounted or discredited, because a lot of them are very, very successful.
Mm-hmm.
Their journeys were just different.
Right. Exactly.
That doesn't mean that their lives don't matter. They're not, they don't have purpose, or that they are insignificant beings. But my whole point is to introduce to ourselves, our communities, and to the others that we are more than this little marginalized negative scenario and stereotype that you have of us. We are, in my family alone, I have pilots. And do you know that the percentage of pilots in all of the world, only 1% are Black women?
Isn't that something?
3% of pilots are Black men. But they do exist.
Right. Right.
So how are we to dream big if we don't see? And everybody wants to sell us this thing that the only thing you can do is be a servant.
Or an athlete.
There you go, an educator, those generalized, like those are the only things that we should be. No.
Right. Right.
And that's why I do this, because I'm tired of being told that I'm supposed to stay in this corner, that I don't do this. I don't speak like this.
Right. Right.
That I can't learn this. I can't vacation. I'm so tired of that narrative. And the whole point of this is to speak with Black people, men and women. I don't care what their ages are. One, to empower ourselves. So if you think that you're doing something that is lackluster, it's not popular, it's not something that is considered amazing, I want you to stop feeling that way. And I want you to, whatever your journey is, all of our journeys are different.
Right. Right.
But it's your journey. It's your experience. I can't tell you. I can encourage you. And I may not agree with what you do.
Right.
But I'm tired of us being put in this space and in this sector and this, spinning this narrative that Black people do not belong here.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, I applaud you for that. I really do, because God knows it's needed. I just, only if there were just hundreds more of you or thousands more of you. That narrative is so, it takes so much. I was just having a discussion with my husband. We were coming home and we were talking about how it takes so much. We watched a Henry Louis Gates kind of, the Ancestry, Finding My Roots, I think is the name of the program that he does. And it was discussing Clint Black, a country singer, and Roseanne Cash, the daughter.
I remember him.
Johnny Cash. And it was intriguing because in Clint Black's family, they went back so many generations, of course, and they found that his great-great-great-grandfather was a slaveholder, and that he had 5 slaves, and, so on and so on and so on. And Roseanne Cash, they had a different kind of family. Johnny Cash had gone back and done some genealogy and found that they were part Scottish and part Italian. But he saved this part for last. And he said to Clint Black, on your mother's side, so many generations back, there is someone who is 100% African. And the same was the case for Roseanne Cash. And I was just fascinated at that point. I mean, I had been watching it, and I love that show, and so I was watching it, but I was completely floored at that point, as were the two of them. And Henry Louis Gates said something to Clint Black, welcome to the family. And I thought I would die. I just thought I would just fall out. Because these are country music stars, right? Mm-hmm. And I have nothing, I don't know a thing about them other than who they are. And I recognize their music and, that kind of thing. I don't know them personally, but I do know that country music, even at this moment, has an established history of not including African Americans and having Confederate flags waving here and there and not that kind of thing. And so I found it fascinating that not only are we a part of that industry, because there are some stars from right here in Texas. Her last name is Guyton, and she just got nominated for an award, a Grammy Award, for a country hit. And she's raised, I believe, right here in Arlington. And so we've been so excluded from so many things, as though we cannot do those things. You know what I mean? That we somehow we don't have that ability. It is mind-boggling to me the what you have to do in your mind in order to subjugate someone else, in order to make that kind of thinking okay. You have to literally say, for example, slaves were slaves because they were not human. They were beasts. They were whatever that thought process was. Well, if that's the case, why did you have a problem with teaching them to read? You know what I'm saying? If that were the case, why were you sleeping with them? If that were the case, why? There's so many whys. You know what I'm saying? You have to change so many things. You have to change so many laws. You have to do so much in order to make those beliefs of yours true. Are you following what I'm saying?
I get you. I'm with you.
Even today, my brother and I were raised. My parents, we started out in a neighborhood. All of our neighbors were Black, and we grew up playing in the street and playing hide and go seek, and football in the street and tag and all of that. And then we moved. My mom is one of the 5 teachers who integrated DISD, Dallas. The 5 Black teachers. They called her one day and took her, said, "You're being transferred." And along with 4 other Black teachers, put them in this one white school. And they were the experiment. And so my mom said, well, I cannot teach here and have my kids way across town. So she transferred us there. So then we became the first 2 Black kids in that school. And we remained the only 2 Black kids all the way through. I say that because I had this experience that I eventually became part of the class. Kids learn racism, and they learn prejudice and all of that. But if you put them out in the field and let them play together, they eventually forget it. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm part of the class. One of my classmates had a slumber party because it was her birthday. I begged and begged and begged and begged and begged my parents to let me stay. We all walk to her house after school. We're all in the house, laughing, talking, playing. Her mother comes in from, she had been, I don't know, maybe buying snacks or something, but shopping. And she came in and spotted me. And when I tell you, we all went silent because she took her daughter into the back bedroom and we could hear her asking her what was that nigger doing in her house. Anyway, just we so need more of you, because we've been so categorized and marginalized and so dehumanized and just so it just absolutely amazes me. I sometimes wonder, what would we be had all of this not happened to us? What can you just in spite of all of the obstacles, in spite of all the Jim Crow and the lynchings and the slavery and all of that, who would we have been in this country were it not for all of that? Because in spite of that, we are astronauts and presidents and vice presidents, and we're billionaires, and we're you name it. We're everything that there could possibly be. What could we be had it not been for all of that?
You know, Lesa, the opposite side of that is we be who we actually are. We be who you're seeing right now.
Yeah.
Let me and I'm gonna stick with me here. Now, I'm not a philosopher, but stick with me.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that they saw in us what they've beat out of us, what they've tried to bury, and who they couldn't, genocide didn't work for. We are exactly who they are fighting so hard to get rid of. They knew something and they were trying to erase it, use it, spin it in a way that they had control of it. Because if you have the ability to contain certain information and you let out what you want, and then also I got to do something to keep these people that I am using, that I'm stealing from, that I'm trying to muzzle. I got to keep them from figuring out what I'm doing. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to strip them out of their environment, where their environment was lush. They had all of the minerals, gold, and all the things that we find valuable. We're going to pluck them, the buildings, all of those architectural abilities and talent and knowledge, math even. We're going to take that. What we're going to do is we're going to get all of these people and we're going to mix them up. They all speak different languages. We're going to mix them up. We're going to take them from the things that made them strong, which is their family, their bond. We're going to mix them up. Not only are we going to mix them up, we're going to continue to keep them confused. And we're going to bring them to our territory, where they will completely have to rely upon me. And we will teach them our ways. We will make them what we want them to believe they are. And we're also going to, anybody else who comes in this space, they too will carry on this narrative and this ideal. Because if we let them read, man, this won't be ours anymore. We can't let them be great. We can't let them be better than me. We can't allow them to believe that they are something, that they have worth. So we're going to beat it out of them. And the ones who don't submit, we're going to kill them. So even with all of that being done, we still with nothing have overcome. Look at who we are. Look at where we are. We have influenced everything. America would not be America if it didn't have us. I'm not saying that we are better than anybody.
Right, exactly.
But we are not less than either.
Exactly.
Music, even country music. Charlie Pride, who just recently died.
Right.
Charlie Pride had chicken named after him. He had his own. Come on now. Charlie Pride did country western, and I'm not a fan of country western music.
Right.
In Lubbock, that's what they forced down my throat, but I'm not a fan of it. But I am aware of our influence.
Right.
But this is what I do, and this is what I'm trying to do, because if I were to look and depend solely upon what the world is telling me I am, I'm nothing. I'm not worth the air that we breathe. by the way that's free. I'm not worth, I don't, my life has no value.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deserve to be paid. I don't deserve to own anything.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing my purpose is, the only thing that I'm useful for is to serve.
Yes, ma'am.
So that has got to change. It has got to change. I didn't have 3 daughters for them to believe that the only thing that they were intended to do was to serve and not to own something, and to be proud of who they are in the skin that they live in, the hair, the curl of their hair, the thickness and the fullness of their lips.
Right.
I didn't raise 3 daughters to not believe that they are a part and that they are valued, and that regardless to whether they're ever millionaires, whether they're ever popular, that they shouldn't take pride in the work and the activities and the fact that God thought that they were worth something.
Exactly.
It's nothing else. God, my grandmother used to tell me that God didn't make dirt, trash.
Right.
And even if you look at just the process it takes in conception of a child, of just the conception process, that within itself is a fight.
Right.
You are not guaranteed to make it through that gauntlet because it was a gauntlet.
Exactly.
That was no guarantee. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you are Black. It doesn't matter if you're white. The process was the same.
Exactly.
So I appreciate you, Lesa, for everything that you do as an educator, because despite the challenges we're going through, these kids need somebody, and they need somebody with the patience, the desire, it's desire, really, the concern about someone else, to let them know that you have a brain. Yes, it works and it functions differently, but this is information. And I'm going to do the best that I can to make sure that this information reaches your brain so that you know and you have whatever it is to equip you in order to one day be a productive adult.
Absolutely.
A contributing citizen.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter your social economical background. If your lineage is one of those lineages that we'll read about in history books.
Absolutely.
So I do appreciate you for taking the time out of, again, your busy schedule to share with us. I didn't get an opportunity to mention the work that you do within the church as well, but we're getting close to the end, and there should be a part 2 to this.
I'm not talking to you, Jamila.
But what I'm going to do now is I am going to give you the opportunity here to, usually I say this is the shout out moment, but whatever you want to do here, offer encouragement, let people know how, if you're on the socials, let them know how to follow you. If you're on the LinkedIn, offer encouragement, thank.
My goodness. I have just thoroughly enjoyed myself, and you are so right. It has been a conversation. Thank you so much. I just can't tell you how I appreciate what your intent is in doing this podcast, and what your intent is, where your heart is. I think that's just an absolutely beautiful thing. And so I am just more than honored to get to spend this time with you. It has truly been an enjoyable conversation. I am not really interested in promoting what I'm doing and all of that. I have to tell you, at this moment, I feel a bit overwhelmed. And so I don't want anybody contacting me. No, let me not say it like that. That comes off very, very badly. But
No, it doesn't.
honestly, please, I am just really happy doing what God puts in front of me to do. I am excited, though. I've recently started a nonprofit that I'm super excited about, and it is called Soul Matters for Life. And I've made it so that it kind of encompasses several aspects of what I believe God has intended for me to do. But primarily, its mission is to work with the homeless and help to provide some housing and some things that they need. And so, because I, my mom used to say to me when I was a kid that, and she's just said this all of our lives, and I never knew why, but she would just say, it makes no sense for people to live by themselves. And there are too many people on this earth. And she would always say, we have enough that everybody should have a home. And I just never knew why she said that, but she feels very strongly about that and has just always said it. And, when I one day kind of started to analyze that, I thought, well, you're absolutely right. Just this country alone, we have enough that everybody should have a place to live, that they can go and close the door and lock it and say, I'm secure from the elements, I'm secure from people, I'm secure from everything, and I can lay my head here and rest. And so, having said that, I that is my focus, and I believe that on some level I'll always be a teacher, but that is where my heart is geared at this moment. And so that's probably the only thing that I'm really interested in promoting at this moment. But I would just ask for your prayers for that and that effort, and that we're able to do what it is that we've set out to do. So other than that, I just thank you. I thank you for this opportunity.
Well, you are welcome, and I thank you. And yes, you definitely will get the prayers and support for Soul Matters for Life nonprofit. I think that is amazing. And yes, we definitely need that. You're correct. No one should ever not have a roof over their head. That's safety and security. So yeah, I'm all for that. And I hope that will work out and reach get the attention it needs in order so it can facilitate and provide a house, a home for those individuals who need it. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, Lesa, it's the end. And I'm grateful for you being here today. Thank you so much. I hope that the line of questioning and the conversation and the discussion will definitely open some eyes and some hearts. And hopefully it was a discussion of purpose. And I enjoyed it. I do hope your nerves are better now.
I'm not pacing anymore.
But you are welcome back anytime, and you continue to success. And thank you again. I do appreciate it. I've thoroughly enjoyed this afternoon.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
We've come to the close of another episode of the End User Talkcast. I hope that what you've heard today will leave you feeling empowered. Thank you for listening. And remember, every day's a training day.